Now that I think about it, I really blame you motherfucking weak ass hoes for letting these niggas motherfucking think they can play with real bitches. Y'all hoes gonna sit and wait on the nigga to feed y'all. Y'all gonna sit and wait on the nigga to do everything for y'all. Y'all not gonna go get up and get it. So when they come around the real bitch that do everything on their own, they feel like they can take your power away. Bitch, you can't take no power from a bitch that built herself. Like, you can't.
Yeah, the nigga move, made that nigga hit a boom, I said it the plan. You gon' get him to the spot, make sure that you watch the clock, about 2 o'clock, and you reach for a clock, you be pulling out the Glock, I take it from there, I be coming up the stair with a Jordan hitting like a snare. Yeah, the nigga move, made that.
Tonight, we're uncovering disturbing new details about a mother accused of shooting her 4 children, killing 2 of them. This is 31-year-old Oninda Romelus, seen here in a 2022 mugshot from Georgia when she was arrested on drug charges.
New details are beginning to emerge after 4 children were found shot in a car at an Angleton gas station. A 13-year-old boy and 3-year-old girl died. An 8-year-old boy and 9-year-old girl still recovering.
Brazoria County deputies responded to an unthinkable, unimaginable tragedy.
The kid's mom, 31-year-old Oninda Romelus, is now in custody, charged with murder, and according to charging documents, gave disturbing statements to the Brazoria County Sheriff's Office investigators who spoke with her after the shooting. Court documents obtained by KHOU 11 share Romelus told investigators her children were with the devil. According to the affidavit, law enforcement says surveillance video shows Romelus drove to this gas station off Highway 288 in Angleton, where she called 911. When asked during her interview why she called authorities, Romelus told investigators, quote, "Instead of them doing it to me, I'm going to do it to them," and continued saying, "Kill them all."
Kill them all. Those were the words that came from a mother's mouth as she stood beside her car in the early morning darkness. Inside that vehicle, her 4 children. All of them shot. 2 of them dead. October 4th, 2023. A quiet gas station in Angleton, Texas. 4:48 a.m. A 911 call comes in, but the dispatcher has no idea what they're about to hear. When deputies arrive at the scene, they find something that will haunt them for the rest of their lives. 4 children slumped inside a vehicle. The oldest, 13 years old. The youngest, just 3. 2 aren't breathing. 2 are barely clinging to life. Officers rush to perform first aid, their voices urgent and shaking. "We need multiple ambulances. We're doing everything we can." And standing right there, just a few feet from the car, is their mother. 31-year-old Oninda Romelus. She's calm. Detached. Almost hollow. When investigators ask her what happened, she doesn't cry. She doesn't scream. She just stares and says something that makes their blood run cold. "They're with the devil. They're dead to me." When they press her further, asking who did this, her answer is even worse. "I told you. I killed them all." This isn't a case of a crime of passion. This isn't a mother who snapped in a single moment of rage. This is something far darker. Something more disturbing. Because the question isn't just what happened that night, it's what kind of demons, real or imagined, could drive a mother to execute her own children in cold blood. Before we dive deeper into this nightmare, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Cases like this are difficult to cover, but they need to be told. Your support helps us continue bringing these stories to light. So who was Oninda Romelus? What led to this unthinkable act? And what warning signs did everyone miss? To answer that, we need to go back. Back to before the gunshots. Back to before the 911 call. Back to the life she was living. And the life she was pretending to live. Brazoria County, Texas. About 40 miles south of Houston. It's the kind of place where neighbors know each other, where Friday night football matters, and where nobody expects to wake up to a story like this. But Oninda didn't live in Brazoria County. She lived about an hour north, in Porter, a quiet suburb in Montgomery County. Tree-lined streets. Safe neighborhoods. The kind of place young families move to for a fresh start. And that's exactly what Oninda was supposed to be doing. She'd moved to Texas just 5 months earlier, in May of 2023. Packed up her life in Georgia, loaded up her 4 kids, and headed west. No extended family nearby. No deep roots. No safety net. Just her, her children, and whatever she was running from, or running toward. On social media, she made it look like a dream. New house. New car. New life. She posted videos flashing stacks of cash, showing off her nails, talking about the land she'd bought in Haiti to build her mini mansion. To anyone scrolling through her feed, Oninda Romelus was winning. She was a boss. A provider. A mother who had it all figured out. But behind the filtered photos and the confident captions, something else was brewing. In the weeks leading up to October 4th, her posts started to change. They got darker. More cryptic. "The devil has sent his minions to irritate and annoy me," she wrote. "I'm just glad I ignored them, because the way I'm heading, it's jail or hell. Jail or hell." Those words would prove to be chillingly prophetic. Texas was supposed to be her fresh start. But for Oninda, it became the place where everything fell apart. And on that cold October morning, she drove her 4 children nearly an hour south, to a gas station in Angleton, for reasons no one can fully understand. What happened inside that car would shatter a community. But to understand the full picture, you need to know who Oninda Romelus really was. And who the 4 innocent lives sitting in that back seat were. Oninda Romelus wasn't always the woman standing in that gas station parking lot. She was born in Haiti, raised in Miami, and eventually settled in Atlanta. She studied political science in college. Worked multiple jobs, cashier at McDonald's, package handler at UPS, caterer at a Mexican grill. She even tried her hand at rapping for a while, posting music videos online with big dreams.
Cold nights, no lights, just dreams in my head. I push through the struggle while they all fucking dead. Mama pray for me, she say, baby, keep your head high. Now I'm moving mountains out, I'm reaching for the sky. Fake love surround me, but I stay 10 toes. Trust you, I don't got no time for no hoes that I cut loose. That's just how the gang go. Pain in my past, but it made me tough. Diamonds in my vision, so I had enough. I go Cartier frames for the days I couldn't see. Bitches trying to cross me, I got time for sympathy. Hoes out here talking reckless.
But what defined Oninda most was her relationships. And every single one of them ended badly. Her first child came from a relationship so complicated, she ended up on the TV show, Paternity Court, with 2 men, trying to figure out who the father was. The twist? Neither of them was. That child was 13-year-old Ocario Covington. A young boy on the edge of becoming a teenager. A kid with his whole life ahead of him. Then came more children. More men. And a disturbing pattern emerged. Every man Oninda got involved with ended up behind bars. One boyfriend was convicted of trying to kidnap a prosecutor's father. Another, the father of her youngest child, was arrested for murder. Oninda kept choosing broken men, and each time, she was left alone to pick up the pieces. By 2023, she had 4 children, all with different fathers, and none of those fathers were around. So she did what she had to do. She worked. She hustled. And when that wasn't enough, she crossed lines. Police would later discover that her job as a tax preparer was a front. Inside her home, they found 33 social security cards, 48 fake IDs, and 16 credit cards, some with her name, some with completely different names but her photo. It was a full-blown identity theft operation. That's how she afforded the lifestyle she flaunted online. The new house. The new car. The cash in her videos. It was all built on lies. But here's the thing, her friends said she never seemed stressed about her kids. She celebrated their birthdays. Posted videos of them smiling. Bought them things. On the surface, she looked like a devoted mother. And maybe, in her own broken way, she thought she was. Let's talk about those kids. Because they're the ones who matter most. Ocario Covington, 13 years old. The oldest. The one from the paternity court saga. In the videos Oninda posted, you can see him growing up, getting taller, becoming a young man. His last birthday was celebrated just months before his death. Kyle Romelus, 9 years old. Quiet kid. Middle child. The one who would somehow survive the nightmare to come. Travail Donner, 8 years old. Another survivor. Another child who would have to live with the memory of what his mother did. And then there was Amara Chappelle. 3 years old. The baby. The daughter of the boyfriend arrested for murder. In one of the last videos Oninda posted, you can see little Amara at her birthday party, smiling, surrounded by balloons. She had no idea that in just a few short months, her mother would take her life. These weren't just statistics. They were children. They had personalities, dreams, futures. And they trusted the one person who was supposed to protect them. But in the weeks before October 4th, something inside Oninda was breaking. She posted strange messages. Talked about the devil. Complained about being disrespected. Warned people, never know how tired they are. She was tired. Tired of struggling. Tired of being alone. Tired of pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. And on the morning of October 4th, that exhaustion turned into something unforgivable. The hours before dawn on October 4th, 2023. Most people in Porter, Texas are asleep. But inside Oninda Romelus's home, something is happening. She wakes her 4 children, or maybe they're already awake, confused about why mom is moving around in the dark. She loads them into the car. All 4 of them. Ocario, 13. Kyle, 9. Travail, 8. And little Amara, just 3 years old. Where are they going? The kids probably don't ask. When you're that young, you trust your mother. You assume she knows what she's doing. Oninda starts driving. South. Away from their home. Away from their neighborhood. Down dark Texas highways where there's nothing but streetlights and silence. It's nearly an hour-long drive, and we'll never know what was going through her mind during those miles. Was she hearing voices? Was she planning this? Or did something snap in those final moments? The kids might have fallen back asleep in the back seat. Maybe they thought they were going on a trip. Maybe they didn't think anything at all. She arrives in Angleton, Brazoria County. A gas station. Quiet. Isolated. The kind of place where nobody's around at 4 in the morning except maybe a tired clerk inside. Oninda pulls into the parking lot. She stops the car. And then, in the darkness, inside that vehicle, she does the unthinkable. She shoots her children. All 4 of them. Close range. One by one. 13-year-old Ocario, gone. 3-year-old Amara, gone. Kyle and Travail, wounded, gasping, barely alive. And then, with her children bleeding and dying around her, Oninda Romelus picks up her phone. At 4:48 a.m., she calls 911. But what she tells the dispatcher isn't a plea for help. It's not panic. It's not remorse. She tells them where she is. She tells them to come. But she doesn't tell them what she's done. Not yet. When deputies arrive, they have no idea what they're walking into. They see the car. They see a woman standing beside it, eerily calm. And when they look inside, their worst nightmare is staring back at them. 4 children. Blood everywhere. 2 not breathing. 2 barely holding on. The officers spring into action. We need multiple ambulances. We're doing first aid, we're doing everything we can. Their voices are frantic, desperate. They're trying to save lives that are slipping away. And through it all, Oninda just stands there. Watching. Detached. Like she's observing something happening to someone else. One of the deputies finally turns to her, shaking, and asks the question, "Who did this?" Oninda looks at him. No tears. No emotion. Just a blank stare. And then she says it. "I told you. I killed them all. The scene at that gas station was pure chaos. Paramedics rushing in. Deputies trying to process what they're seeing. And in the middle of it all, 2 children fighting for their lives. Kyle, 9 years old, had a faint pulse. So did Trevile, 8. The medics worked fast, loading them into ambulances. Within minutes, helicopters were called in. The 2 boys were airlifted to Memorial Hermann Hospital in Houston, racing against time, every second critical. But for Ocario and Amara, it was already too late. The 13-year-old and the 3-year-old were gone. Shot at close range by the person who was supposed to love them most. Their small bodies slumped in the back seat, lives stolen before the sun even came up. As first responders worked frantically to save the survivors, investigators turned their attention to Oninda. She was cooperative in the strangest, most disturbing way. She wasn't resisting. She wasn't running. She was just there. Standing. Waiting. They asked her what happened. She stared ahead and said, "They're with the devil." They asked her to explain. She repeated, "They're dead to me." Nothing she said made sense, but everything she said was damning. One officer, trying to understand, asked her directly, "Why did you call 911?" Her answer was chilling, "Instead of them doing it to me, I'm going to do it to them." "Do what?" the officer pressed. "Kill them all." And then came the most disturbing statement of all. When asked if she had called for help, Oninda shook her head slowly and said, "I didn't call 911. I called the devil." The deputies exchanged looks. This wasn't just a confession. This was something else. Psychosis. Delusion. Evil. Whatever it was clear that Oninda Romelus had crossed a line no mother should ever cross. By the time the sun rose over Brazoria County, the gas station was a full crime scene. Yellow tape. Evidence markers. News vans starting to pull up as word spread. And at the hospital, doctors were fighting to keep Kyle and Trevile alive, 2 little boys who would have to wake up to the nightmare that their mother had murdered their siblings. Oninda was taken into custody without incident. No struggle. No drama. She just got into the police car, blank-faced, and let them take her away. But the investigation was just beginning. And what they were about to uncover would reveal a life even more twisted than anyone imagined. Within hours, the Brazoria County Sheriff's Office held a press conference. Sheriff Bo Stallman stood in front of cameras, visibly shaken, and called it what it was, an unthinkable, unimaginable tragedy. But while the public was just learning about the horror, investigators were already digging deeper. And the more they uncovered, the stranger this case became. First, they had to understand the basics. The shooting happened inside the vehicle at the gas station. All 4 children were shot at close range. A weapon was recovered at the scene, though police didn't release details about the caliber or type. Oninda's own 911 call and her confession at the scene made it clear, she was the shooter. There was no mystery about who did it. The mystery was why. Detectives interviewed Oninda at the jail. She was calm, disturbingly so. She repeated the same bizarre phrases. "They're with the devil. You can't take me without me taking you." When pressed for a motive, for any explanation that made sense, she offered nothing coherent. Just fragments. Delusions. References to evil forces and threats that didn't exist. Mental health experts would later need to evaluate whether she was competent to stand trial. But in those first hours, one thing was clear. This wasn't a rational act. This was a woman who had either lost her mind completely or was hiding behind insanity. But then, investigators got a tip. There might be a 5th child. A 17-year-old. Where was this teenager? Montgomery County Sheriff's deputies rushed to Oninda's home in Porter. They knocked. No answer. They called out. Nothing. Finally, they broke down the door, expecting to find another victim. What they found instead was something they didn't expect. The house was a crime scene of a different kind. Scattered across tables and counters were dozens of fake IDs. Social security cards. Credit cards in various stages of production. Some had Oninda's name. Others had completely different names but her photo. There were 33 social security cards, 48 IDs, and 16 credit cards in total. This wasn't just a struggling single mother. This was a full-scale identity theft operation. Suddenly, the pieces started coming together. The flashy lifestyle. The new house. The stacks of cash in her videos. It was all fake. Built on fraud. And when you're running scams that big, the pressure is enormous. One slip-up, one angry victim, one investigation, and your whole world collapses. But was that enough to explain killing your own children? Investigators didn't think so. They dug into her past. DUI arrests in Georgia. Marijuana possession. Disturbance calls. But nothing violent. No history of abusing her kids. Friends and family insisted she was a good mother. She never seemed stressed about her children, one friend said. She took care of them. So what changed? The cryptic social media posts offered clues. In the weeks before the murders, Oninda had written about the devil sending minions to bother her. She'd posted about heading toward jail or hell. She'd warned people not to disrespect women because you never know how tired they are. She was tired. Exhausted. And whatever was happening in her mind. Whether it was a psychotic break, paranoid delusions, or something darker, it had convinced her that killing her children was somehow necessary. As for the mysterious fifth child, the 17-year-old, investigators never found them. Family members said they had no knowledge of another child. It may have been misinformation, or a misunderstanding. Either way, the 4 children in that car were the only victims. 2 of them were dead. 2 were in the hospital, stable but traumatized. And their mother was behind bars, facing charges that could end her life. There was no manhunt. No dramatic chase. No mystery suspect to track down. Oninda Romelus had confessed at the scene. She'd called 911 herself. She'd admitted to everything. In some ways, that made it worse. Because when a killer confesses immediately, it means they wanted this. They planned it. Or they'd lost their minds so completely that they couldn't even pretend to hide it. Oninda was officially arrested and booked into Brazoria County Jail. The charges were severe. 2 counts of capital murder for Ocario and Amara. 2 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon for Kyle and Trevile. Then came the bond hearing. The judge didn't hesitate. $5 million for each murder charge. $2 million for each assault charge. Total bond, $14 million. It was a clear message. Oninda Romelus wasn't going anywhere. And then prosecutors made an announcement that sent chills through the community. If Oninda was found competent to stand trial, they would seek the death penalty. But that was the question, wasn't it? Competent. Could a woman who talked about calling the devil, who believed her children were possessed, who showed zero emotion after killing 2 of them, could she really be considered sane enough to face trial? Psychiatric evaluations would take months. Experts would need to determine if she understood right from wrong at the time of the killings. If she knew what she was doing. If she could assist in her own defense. In the meantime, the community tried to make sense of it all. Vigils were held for Ocario and Amara. Strangers left flowers at the gas station. People who had never met these children mourned them because the circumstances were just so horrific. Some of Oninda's friends tried to defend her online. She was a good mother, one wrote. She never abused those kids. She loved them. Something must have happened to her mind. Others weren't so sympathetic. There's no excuse, they said. Mental illness doesn't make you a murderer. She made a choice. And then there were the conspiracy theorists, the ones who whispered about darker things. I heard it was Haitian witchcraft, one comment read. Maybe she was possessed. But investigators didn't find evidence of rituals or occult practices. What they found was a woman under crushing pressure, financial, emotional, mental, who had snapped in the most unforgivable way possible. As Oninda sat in her jail cell, isolated and monitored around the clock, 2 little boys were waking up in a hospital, asking questions no child should ever have to ask. Where are my brother and sister? Why did mom do this? What happens to us now? Kyle and Traviel survived. Physically, at least. The surgeons at Memorial Hermann Hospital worked miracles, stabilizing them, treating their gunshot wounds, bringing them back from the edge. Within days, both boys were listed in stable condition. But stable doesn't mean okay. These children had witnessed their mother shoot their siblings. They'd felt bullets tear through their own bodies. They'd watched Ocario and Amara die. That kind of trauma doesn't heal with stitches and bandages. Where would they go? Their mother was in jail, likely for life. Their fathers were either unknown, absent, or incarcerated. Extended family would have to step in, but the emotional scars these boys carried would last forever. Therapy. Nightmares. Survivor's guilt. Trust issues. The list goes on. And then there were the 2 who didn't make it. Ocario Covington. 13 years old. He should have been in middle school, worrying about homework and video games. Instead, his life ended in the back of a car before he ever got the chance to become who he was meant to be. Amara Chappelle. 3 years old. A toddler who barely had time to experience the world. Her last birthday party, captured on video just months before, showed a smiling little girl surrounded by balloons. Now those videos are all that's left. Oninda's father spoke briefly to the media. His voice was broken. We're still trying to make sense of it all, he said. That's all he could manage. Because how do you make sense of your daughter murdering your grandchildren? The community of Porter, where Oninda had lived, held vigils. Strangers came together to mourn children they'd never met. Candles were lit. Prayers were said. Teddy bears and flowers piled up at makeshift memorials. Brazoria County Sheriff Bo Stallman addressed the public again, his voice heavy. This tragedy has shaken our community, he said. We are all feeling this loss. Our prayers are with these children, and with the first responders who had to witness this scene. Those first responders, the deputies, the paramedics, the helicopter pilots, they'll carry this with them too. You don't see something like that and just move on. Counseling was offered. Support groups were formed. But some images never leave your mind. 2 children dead. 2 children traumatized. A community shattered. And a mother sitting in a jail cell, either too insane to understand what she'd done or so consumed by whatever darkness took hold of her that remorse wasn't even possible. This wasn't just a crime. It was a complete destruction of a family. And the ripples of that destruction would spread far beyond that gas station parking lot. So what do we take from this? What lessons can possibly be learned from something so senseless? The truth is, cases like this force us to confront uncomfortable realities about mental health, about the pressures of single motherhood, and about the masks people wear on social media. Oninda's Instagram showed a woman who had it all together. New house. New car. Stacks of cash. Happy kids. But behind that curated feed was a completely different story. Fraud. Failed relationships. Isolation. And a mind that was clearly unraveling. How many people are out there right now, posting smiling photos while they're drowning inside? How many are one bad day away from a breaking point? We live in a world where everyone looks fine online, but nobody actually is. Oninda posted warnings. She talked about the devil. About heading toward jail or hell. About being tired. Those were cries for help disguised as cryptic captions. But who was paying attention? Who reached out? This isn't about excusing what she did. Nothing, absolutely nothing, justifies killing your children. Mental illness can explain behavior, but it doesn't excuse it. Oninda made a choice, whether that choice was driven by delusion or desperation or pure evil. But we also have to ask ourselves, could this have been prevented? If someone had noticed the warning signs, if there were better mental health resources for struggling single mothers, if our society didn't force people to pretend they're thriving when they're barely surviving, would those 4 kids still be alive? Family annihilation cases, especially those involving mothers, are rare but devastating. When they happen, they're usually tied to severe mental illness, psychotic breaks, or distorted beliefs that killing the children is somehow saving them from a worse fate. Oninda's statements about the devil, about her children being dead to her, suggest she wasn't living in reality anymore. The justice system now has to decide what to do with her. Can someone that mentally fractured be held fully accountable? Should she face the death penalty if she genuinely couldn't distinguish right from wrong? These are questions with no easy answers. What we do know is this: Ocario and Amara are gone. Kyle and Travail will spend the rest of their lives processing trauma most adults couldn't handle. And a community has been reminded that sometimes, the most dangerous monsters aren't strangers lurking in the shadows. Sometimes, they're created by invisible pain, crushing pressure, and a world that looks the other way until it's too late. As of now, Oninda Romelus remains in Brazoria County Jail on $14 million bond. She's awaiting psychiatric evaluation to determine if she's competent to stand trial. If found competent, prosecutors will seek the death penalty for the murders of Ocario and Amara. Kyle and Travail have been released from the hospital. Their current custody arrangement is being kept private to protect them, as it should be. They have a long road of healing ahead. This case isn't about making Oninda Romelus infamous. It's about remembering Ocario Covington and Amara Chappelle, 2 children who deserved so much more than the hand they were dealt. And it's about hoping that Kyle and Travail can somehow find peace in the years to come. If this case affected you, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Share this video with others who follow true crime. These stories matter. These victims matter. If you or someone you know is struggling with thoughts of harming yourself or others, please reach out. Call 988 for the National Crisis Hotline, or text HELLO to 741741. Leave a comment below. What do you think could have prevented this tragedy? What warning signs did society miss? Rest in peace, Ocario and Amara. You will not be forgotten.